So, einen wunderschönen guten Morgen, wenn Sie in den Vereinigten Staaten sind. I have to recall that even that we started our video casting and streaming session from German, I have to switch to English now. Yeah, some of these days it still hits me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you on new screens together with us. A very nice mix, and we will try to enlighten you and get some stories to be told and challenged, such as how the game has changed, what are the game changers these days in CRM and CX over the years. We have here as a guest today, one out of two, Robert Gebhardt. Robert is a well-known expert over 20 years of sales experience. I had a fast learning today when I saw one of his posts in LinkedIn where he was mentioning that sales is not simply something a role like, but it has to do with commitment, with wholehearted engagement, and that it is not bad if you have a CRM system at your end. But Robert, please tell us a bit more about yourself and your journey through several organizations and how you came addicted, as I would like to call it, to CRM.
Well, I started in the IT business in 2000. In the middle of my studies, I studied advertising business, marketing communication, and I started in a startup which was originally basically a classical SAP consultancy. And we developed in the first 2 years a CRM solution based on SAP technology, and that was in the very beginning of 2000, 2002. My first impact on the CRM markets. We were some, I would say, blue-eyed guys. Everybody told us, let your fingers out of the market and don't try to be a vendor. We did it anyway, and I would say in our conditions we were successful. 14 years later, we had about 150 enterprise customers with our solutions. We were on the one side partner of SAP in the ERP context and competitor in the CRM context. And I always said we are a little bit of the Asterix and Obelix in the middle of Roma, of romance. So the big SAP and the little company called ITML. And after 14 years, it was time to do a new challenge and to begin a new challenge. And then I was 7.5 years in the Lake of Constance. SAP customer experience partner, 100% SAP focused, 100% SAP customer experience focused. In that time, it's called Sub CRM, and later SAP customer engagement, and later in commerce. Thomas knows that time very well.
I know the other times as well. We were in direct competition when you started up.
Momento, right? Did you start at Momento?
At that time, I was SAP CRM.
Okay. So, And now I joined Reply last year, exactly a year ago in July. New challenge, and and again with a little different perspective of the Reply group, again in the SAP CX market. That's my journey.
That's an interesting step so far, such as what you have seen, what you have endeavored, what you have seen on the customer ends. You have seen customers like Steif the fabulous company with all the teddy bears. You have had B2B, B2C, you name it, you get it, and you have seen their pains. And one of the learnings you had, and naturally not only pains, but also their gains, which is even more important. And you were mentioning once when we had a pitch, I was consulting a potential customer in Austria, and you mentioned, yeah, well, what is to our advantage these days is that from my background, I know how to do the hybrid stuff because I know to do the marketing campaigns, and it's very comfortable for the customer to have knowledgeable experts in the SAP partnership at the hand and handy and easy to access to drive it forward. What is the real interesting new part you learn now in Cisco Plan as a part of the Reply group? Because what you probably do not know is that I have knowledgeable experience with some of the sister companies of yours, which were Cluster Reply or several others. And on that long journey, Tobias Rohrbach, to name just one who was on the Microsoft side, was a long-term contact over a lot of years. So I found it quite fabulous, challenging, and also encouraging to see that Reply is doing a competitive setup even within the own group. Yeah. Can you explain a bit on that? Because I find this is quite unique.
I mean, yeah, Reply is an interesting group, which interested me 1.5 years ago when I started talking to them, or they started talking to me. You can name it.
You talk to each other.
Yeah, we talk to each other. Yeah, I mean, I always say, okay, we are, if you know Star Trek, we are just like the Borg universe, just sympathetic. I mean, we are a group of companies under the brand of Reply, 180, 190 companies. I think we grow every year 50 to 80 companies. So our business model is, or our philosophy is, at the end, we are all Reply, and indeed we have no problems or no problems to work together. I mean, we do projects together with Cluster, we do projects together with Alane, Salesforce company. Of course, I mean, we at Cisco Plan focus on our SAP portfolio, and when we go into a pitch, we 100% are committed to SAP. But when maybe Cluster or Alanis calls us and say, hey, we have a topic here, can you do for us this project part? It's fine for us if we have the capacity. Then of course we do the project together, because in the end we are a Reply, and that's, let's say, it's a bit different. So my former company, Sabit, never would have done a project with another partner of another vendor. So because we were that focused on SAP, and still we are at Cisco Plan focused and loyal to SAP. We are one group, one company, and we try to do business together if possible. So that's the new perspective on the market, right?
Curiosity, do you do competitive bids within the group?
Yeah. I mean, we have
customers say to that.
I mean, the customer know Reply is a we say agnostic company, a company which has almost any vendor, software vendor, any enterprise or global vendor in the portfolio, and they call us. They were a customer in this year. We did the part you guys do originally. We did the evaluation for them, the process description, and then we talked to Alanis, to Cluster, and ourselves, and did the offerings later on for the implementation. And at the end, the customer didn't decide for SAP; they decided for Microsoft. And at the end, I'm afraid not for Cluster, but the company, the customers know that we as Reply have, let's say, many vendors in our portfolio, and they ask us to do the parts they trust on us. So that's a little bit different to another companies, but I know your last company, Thomas, do not only SAP business too in their portfolio. So and from that perspective, and it works. I mean, we talk as partner on our partner level. We talk to each other, and we have no problems. Of course, I won't win in every pitch I get into it, but at the end, we are Reply, and we try to maximize our success for the group.
But I was wondering how many companies you already have. That made me get into a state of shock. Wow.
Worse
And
than Atlantic.
Yes.
But it's successful, and I mean it's not. I mean, we grow. It's a business model to grow in number of companies, not only in number of employees and turnover, but as well as in number of companies. It's a business model, and it's still. I would say it's still working. It's working. We are successful, and we grow every year, and we have good results. So from that perspective, they are successful. They do the right things,
and it's basically the way the market demands. So right now, it's kind of size does matter, but which brings me to a kind of historic question. How do you see the market evolving from the very origins back in the early noughts to the early 20s that we have right now? So what was the main change and the main drivers for change in the past 20 years?
I would say on one side, the technical change from on-premise to cloud. Of course, this change did change the way we do projects, the dynamic in the markets. Vendors and players like Salesforce entered the market and changed it too. So, and on the other side, I would say, I mean, we come from computer-aided selling to CRM. Maybe there are something between, which we grew from CRM, as I said, to customer engagement, which was just a change of the perspective. CRM describes from our perspective the relationship to our customer, and customer engagement did the first time a perspective change to how do we think is our customer engaged to us, which is now finalized to customer experience, the same perspective, outside in, from inside out. And with that perspective change, I would say the topics, we not only positioned the head of sales or the sales departments with CRM, but the marketing departments with marketing automations. The service department always was, in my opinion, a part of CRM. And last but not least, the digital. And with the digital, the commerce topics, digital agency entered the market. There are more topics than just software. There are customer journey consultants. There are so much more topics which describe all the portfolio of customer experience. And with that huge portfolio enlargement, I would say the interest of many more participants on the markets grew, and with that the dynamic and the competition grew in the last years.
And I would love to shoot a question in that direction, as the historical game changer, as game changers and changing the game is the topic. how did cloud impact during your stay in ITML, Cybit, then being bought by Intelligence, and now in Cisco Plan, the approach to the customer and to the market and the delivery of potential benefits?
Yeah, 20 years ago, the customer thought of standards, but I would say in the middle of the pitch, they started to put all the standard objectives aside, and they said, okay, let's do our own project, our own standards. Let's do a custom development project based on this software. And I mean, coming from on-premise, doing that, all this huge projects, getting into the cloud where the standard is, or the project. I wouldn't say that the project size is not is limited. I mean, there are still customers which develop, which make big, huge projects on the cloud, but the cloud has technical limits, and there's one important thing. I mean, we all know the early customers which lost the innovation tempo of the software vendors and stayed in their technical, let's say, in their technical offsite. They had no chance to get all the benefits and all the innovation stuff of the vendors. And that changed. That's the big change. I mean, the customers now are all on the newest technical base. Of course, I would say every software vendor change his technical base each 7 to 10 years and bring a major release or major technical upgrade. But in the cloud, the customers stay technically upgraded, and they have the chance to get the innovations, AI, for example, get that innovations into their processes.
Now, talking about AI, that this
Surprise!
buzzword finally fell or what was brought forward. In how far is this, as well as personal assistants, bots, however we want to call them? In the past years, I've seen a lot of this being door openers, but then once it comes to a pitch, this falling off the cliff, because basics are probably far more important. In how far did that change, or did that change at all in the last 2 years in your environment?
I think we have to look different, or we have to separate the market into, let's say, the CRM area, let's say the marketing area, and the commerce, just into the three
CRM
parts.
Marketing, this differentiation, what's that?
Yeah, because I would say the sales departments in the and let's say the service departments a little bit after that have. I would say there are not that much greenfield projects anymore as we had 15 to 20 years ago. Why I would put it in that way? I mean, greenfield projects mean customer has no idea of CRM, of improving customer data, of let's say thinking about or overthinking about his sales processes. If you do change software X with a software B to A, sales SAP to Salesforce to Microsoft, you name it. I mean, they have experience, and they do that because I would say they lost their consequence in doing the last percent, or doing really customer relationship, or getting nearer to the customer. In the marketing area, I would say the marketing is an area which is far away from the IT in the last 20 years. They did their own little projects. They were not integrated into the IT strategy. That changed in the last few years, I would say, but they are, in my opinion, the very beginning, entering integrated customer experience architecture, and I would say not only the marketing automation, but as well the content management systems area, which is the one part of the commerce. So, and if you think of that now IT CIOs think of or are interested in which CMS, which content management system is in our company. Is it integrated to a possible commerce system, and is that integrated to a marketing automation system? I would say that's we are maybe 10 to 15 years behind the CRM market, and that's why I separated these areas, not because of the processes, but why I think that the marketing department has a lot to speed up and get head by head to the sales and to the other departments.
Yeah. Okay, but in general, how do you define CRM? Just for the record.
Yeah. I mean, of course, CRM is marketing and sales and service, of course. And I would say, if you talk about marketing, the marketing, the sales, and the service departments, they have to optimize the processes internally, make themselves ready for the digital transformation. Because without having a service system, a sales system, and a marketing system, and hopefully they know each other and they are interacting with each other, they are not really able to go into a digital transformation project.
Yeah, oh, fully agreed. But back to the AI topic. In how far did that or other technologies like no code, low code, in how far did they change the face of CRM or CX, how it is often referred to now?
And let me add that one. How did the cloud probably help those technologies to get more popular or to get easier to be applied?
I mean, the ITML vision of CRM software was, we have a ERP backend with SAP, one of the most positioned in the market, and we have just less satellites around CRM system, but close to this data. I think which was let's say, I mean, the company, it's not ITML, but it's now ITMX, and the software is still in the market. Not in that size as, let's say, 10 years ago, but they are still there. But I think what changed is that with the cloud, the multi-system landscape at enterprises was, I would say, back as normal. It was clear that you won't have an ERP system and less satellites around. With the cloud and the change to the cloud, it was acceptable for CIOs that they have, let's say, a backend system with ERP and many systems in the cloud, and they put just the services or the processes and integrate them in the landscape. And they had no problem anymore if not every system is in their own responsibility, because they know they cannot handle all their systems in their house. They have to accept that they give the responsibility of the software, of managing the software into the cloud. And that changed. And yes, Ralph, I would say that gave AI and many other innovations the chance to hit the market and to be successful.
If we go back a bit, 10 years to be precise, when I wrote the first articles on mobile CRM and how this is changing the attitude, and I spoke to the then in service and time serving CIO of SAP, who is now in Switzerland and is writing every Sunday his perspective on the financial market. He said, just get off my back with your own devices. That is a killer. I saw there the first iPads, which had not a 4-digit security access, but 8 digits. And they were trying very much to do a fabulous and very good job. And it was quite interesting to see how 2013 starting the mobile accessibility and doing a lot of stuff starting from your mobile, which ended by the statement of one gentleman from San Francisco who said, I just need my iPhone to do the steering of my complete worldwide organization. I do not need any longer anything more, because the system can do it and I can manage my organization. Might be a cool advertisement, but on the starting point, that was for me a game changer. That man running around through large halls of people gathered there in the brand name and doing a big show. And he proved that he could do a lot of stuff just out of his iPhone and trigger a lot of processes. And that I found quite remarkable. How did you saw that game-changing perspective?
I mean, before that time, B2C and B2B was always separated. And B2C was always a sexy area because the customers had their chances. In the B2B area, we said, okay, we cannot do what Amazon does, so we do it really ugly and not with the best usability, but other customers has to accept that. And I would say that changed. That was one of the big reasons that changed when consumers said, okay, when I'm at home, I have a big usability. Why should I accept it when I'm in business to have really the worst usability, the worst experience I can imagine? And that changed, that companies had to rethink their vision and had to invest more on usability, on experience. And that was, in my opinion, a tempo, a speed maker for that change, for customer experience.
I recall out of that example you just gave that the usability and the user interface and its design was so important that some companies had native on the platforms they support, either Nokia or any other Android or iPhone platforms, iOS, or the tablets and the separate universes, that they wanted the speed due to the processor utilization, and that they could do a lot of good stuff on that mobile devices, but they programmed it native. And then the next game changer was to enable through HTML5 responsive design, and it opened another cool door. Yeah, you saw the same in a different mock-up, but you had the impression you are not changing the system environment, the UI.
Yeah, I mean, the user experience, the UX started in that time was one of the big changes. And I would say another change came with it, with Amazon. They had, I would say they still have don't have the sexiest UI, but they combined a digital process with the backend, with logistics and service, and combined and said, okay, it's only, why do I buy there? Because I know it's working. The service is sensational and it's working with the logistics. So it combined the front end with the back end, and they showed this digital business is only working if front end and back end is combined and integrated and is working together.
Oh, having said that, our second guest arrived.
Yes!
Right. So let's bring Andreas in.
Andreas Schuster, here he is.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Is my mic working?
Oh, yes. It's a sure, so it must be working.
Yeah. Sure, you're sure it's working.
Oh, Ralph. Good morning, Thomas. Hi, Robert.
Andreas,
How are
hi.
you?
Oh, we are middle in the discussion, and
Yeah.
great that you are joining.
Thank
It is
you. Thank you.
fabulous and fantastic that you just joined when we came to the user interfaces and the UX and the game changers, such as when mobiles and portable devices made an impact and changed another time the utilization of our systems. Yeah. And we were just in the approach of the Amazon example, which is a nice one for nearly everything, such as if you need a benchmark, you just jump around, go for Amazon. Yeah? So
if you want an ugly UI, then go there too.
Yeah. It's not the best UI, but it's working integrated. That was the message or the argument I said. I mean, it's not the best UI, but it's working integrated, front end and back end, and the service is really good. If you have a problem, you get somebody really quick, and you get really 100% your problem solved. So that's a good combination for customer experience in the end, and not with the best front ends. There are others better, but with a totally full service, I would say perfect customer experience at the end.
Integrated marketplace.
That basically begs for the question at all. What is the leading entity, process or UI? Let's start with Andreas. Robert, you already
and you have the privilege to introduce yourself, my friend, such as we didn't want to steal that opportunity from you, which I did once.
You don't want to steal my thunder. Let me introduce myself.
Go with it.
I'm Andreas Schuster, responsible for DACH sales in Sugar CRM. Been in Sugar CRM for almost 6 years. I used to be in CRM, other type of project management in the industry. And now I'm here in a group of experts on CRM megatrends. And I can confirm something. We come to trends, I guess, later, to the question UI versus process. When you sell CRM in Germany, process is certainly, maybe in contrast with the US. I mean, process is certainly workflows is the big thing, up to to the point where Germans would over-engineer processes. Maybe sales is still sheltered from too much process orientation. Traditionally, sales is not a very processual department type, not very processual type of people. But I would still think, regardless, that UX user interface is the key, rather a key element in selecting a tool than workflows. Was that the question?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer to it. Ultimately, you probably want both. But if you need to take the decision what to improve, process or UI, where would you start?
I'm a process person, so I would definitely go. I'm in love with methods, like I'm watching everything that sales trainers, including our beloved Robert Schuster. My namesake, what they're saying in their webinars, in their training. But the methodical approach is probably really a German thing. But for the majority of sales reps and people involved in buying processes, probably, especially those who spend very limited time with the selection, if there's a nice front end, if it's a nice interface, they buy it, and they realize later that those kinds of programs are probably lacking depth or flexibility. Typically, a nice UI comes at the expense of lack of flexibility.
Is a posh UI, to put it like that, a guarantee for user adoption and user acceptance?
I would certainly for motivation. I remember a time, you probably talked about history a lot in this before I joined. It's like 10 to 15 years ago, there in America, there was a trend, and I thought it would be a sustainable trend. The gamification, there were several software vendors who added, gamification to CRM and to ERP tools alike, hoping that, the sheer, winning points with your daily routines in CRM would attract more usage, would empower usage, would lead to better master data, to cleaner master data. But that didn't succeed. It never took off in Europe, really. So in that sense, CRM
Especially in
hasn't
German,
changed a lot.
we don't want fun.
We don't want fun, no.
And we mess around with data as well. So a very important part. And I'm grateful that you mentioned one of the game changers, such as we utilize a lot of technology, but nobody gets our shitty data cleaned. Fast, easy for lazy people like me.
Yeah, but I had to change my mind about this. With Sugar CRM, we had a booth at the Hannover Messe. We moved around target groups a little. So we're this year, for us, it's the year of manufacturing companies, SMB companies. And I haven't heard positive feedback about master data as often as this year. Typically, when, the big enterprise companies where data cleansing, is spread across many responsibilities. They typically struggle with master data because there's no, one person in response. And if there is, there is no clarity on responsibility. But for the smaller companies, the last 10 or 20 conversations I had, they all said, "Oh, master data is in good shape." So I'm surprised.
I'm surprised. Yes, so am I. But this would be the guarantee to jump again on the artificial intelligence part and on general prediction technology utilized, such as if you do not have proper clean data, it is like shit in, shit out. What have you seen in the last 20 years here on challenges, disaster areas, and positive examples? Which companies you have accompanied becoming a customer had their act together?
Yeah, before we start with implementation projects, we typically asked, do you want to clean up your data before the CRM implementation or after? Both is possible. Sugar CRM has a duplicate check and everything. You can merge duplicates by dragging and dropping the final data from both versions into the final master data record, and so they have a choice. But typically they would clean up data first. Artificial intelligence is, despite of that, the artificial intelligence is used for many purposes nowadays. There's a bit of definition thing, what you're allowed to call it. There's no real standard definition across industries yet. But our approach in Sugar CRM is, again, to make it as easy as possible particularly for sales reps to make an estimate on their pipeline. So, for example, a lead comes in, and you knew in a company, you knew a rep in a company, and a lead comes in. A lead is in a certain territory, in a certain industry, and you don't know if you want to go for it. Maybe there's 9 more leads, which is a happy situation. But you have to focus on some of them in the B2B. As a B2B sales rep, you can't handle like 50 or 60 sales opportunities. You have to make a choice on your time and resources. And so what Sugar CRM does is it recommends, based on your history of data, on your historic conversion rate, on the historic sales success, it makes recommendations. So that kind of opportunity is what you should go after. That's, you know, an unlikely opportunity. And that way, that helps you filter. It doesn't mean that you should neglect the others. You still have your own thought process, but it helps you, you know, sort out your capacities. Yeah. And so I'm happy about it. Likewise, the other way around. So we talk about sales. Now there's customer cases coming in. In some cases are more dangerous than others. So some might lead to escalation first. Which are the cases that we should, you know, deal with unless there's a SLA in place which regulates the response time, but what, you know, case should be, you know, work on, you know, fastest. And there's things like sentiment analysis. If you have a person with a harsh voice on the other end, you know, that's, you know, that's probably
just asking this to
coming.
Robert as well. Where are your little helping Cologne dwarfs in your systems, Kölner Heinzelmännchen to be precise, enabling the life? Oh, the bears are back.
One bear is here, the other is downtown having fun, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I was going for the supportive system, which is, as he mentioned, the sales rep as one to go for in the area of nest best action, whom to go for first, and low-hanging fruits.
I mean, if we talk about AI, I'm not sure how many of our customers are and users, especially in the sales area, because they are not the best user groups doing things what they said they should do. They want to decide it on their own. So I think the system is much farther and much has more potential as the users can handle, in my opinion, in organizations. But if we move from the sales to the service area, then we discuss indeed in a few cases now the senseful potential and useful impact of AI in the service area. If we think of, okay, we have seasonal business, and we have an increase, let's say on the Christmas time, of 100% of the ticket income, and we need external colleagues, service colleagues, to handle that ticket income, and we think of, okay, can we handle, let's say, 30% of the tickets by chatbots based on AI, which handle the first to decrease this peak, putting hundreds of people into the organization, putting them out, and all that. I think thinking of that kind of areas, I think AI is really could be and is helpful and is usable for the companies already. In other areas, as Andreas showed, I would say I don't know. I mean, if I don't know how, Andreas, how it's in with your customers, and when I talk to customers and let's say they changed the system, the CRM system, from Microsoft to Sugar or from Microsoft to SAP, that's the more likely variant, I would say. But if they change and they think of it, what had happened in that times, I would say they didn't go to, okay, let's get the transparency on our processes and let's be that consequence we thought in the explore phase, in the conceptual phase. How would we change our processes? They just stopped that, and they realized, okay, by stopping that, let's say 1 or a year later, we are not that CRM is not that useful as we thought of it, and our processes are not that efficient as we thought of it. So, and when they come to us, they just do a restart and they go, let's say, 1 or 2 steps back, and they have to do all their steps. And if you think of that customers, or too many customers don't go into that area where CRM is really useful and they have their benefits, I would say they cannot handle AI in that being far away from that area, because they have not the processes, they have not the consequence, they don't thinking that far. And if they don't do what the sales director says, why should they do what the system tells them? Yeah, that's the question I ask. So
that begs a couple of questions again. So now, if you want to use some kind of AI as a supportive tool, so of course you need to get somehow cleanish data, how clean ever you can get it. So the one or other AI expert that I know of says it's impossible to get clean data and to maintain it. So let's keep it clean-ish. So what in terms of organization, ethics, personnel, what are the preconditions that you see to the successful implementation and adoption of an AI-supported system?
And you are welcomed, Andreas, to define your understanding of AI, because that was one of the little challenges, such as we should use the opportunity to talk about what we do understand about AI, and not the even or as if, and our dear friend Esteban is defining it.
You just robbed me of my famous last words.
I think
my apologies, my deepest apologies.
Yeah, I think there's a contrast, but the four of us are technology buffs. We're probably a little ahead in, what's on our minds in terms of technology. So the companies I spoke with on the Hannover Messe, especially the ones who are not, who don't have buying decisions in front of them in terms of CRM, they're in a totally different situation. And to speak to those companies, you have to go back to the basics sometimes. So many of them still have the customer data spread across emails, beer mats, Bierdeckel, Excel spreadsheets on the wall, on a piece of paper. And so the old-fashioned
machines,
So what was true 25 years ago still is true for many companies in Germany who sold, like, while there was growth in the automotive industry, and they just sold like hotcakes. There was limited need to invest in. Now many have to invest in CRM for the first time. They have to get the basics straight. They never needed that. So you have basic conversation. There's some trends which are like the linked. All four of us are on LinkedIn a lot, and all the sales consultants, all the sales trainers, all the CRM gurus talk about omnichannel, for example. The SMB companies, they hear that, they adopt it. Oh, we need for an example, Microsoft Teams integration. I hear that from every prospect, and 1 out of 10, when it comes to the project, 1 out of 10 really turn it into, really practically want an integration. After thinking about it, all right, omnichannel, well, there's other ways, simpler ways to reflect customer conversations in our system.
Maybe you are just prohibitive pricing.
Or you have data, you have no access to WhatsApp data, for example, one of those examples. It's not that easy or LinkedIn, even LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can't just copy LinkedIn data into CRM systems. It's not as easy as that.
They don't want that.
And so even if you can, I mean, the many threads, how can you condense content to a way it's consumable? I mean, you know how social media are. You can't just copy those discussions into CRM and that they make sense there. It doesn't work like that.
Oh, then Elon accuses you of scraping his data again. But what's now? As Ralph asked, what's your definition of AI?
For me, it's back to the benefit of the individual user. Every thought that a machine can think for me, every straightforward thought that's stealing my time, can be done by the system. I wouldn't call it no touch. No touch. We have used the theme for quite a while. It's an extreme concept of a CRM tool that it's no touch. It does everything for you. That doesn't work like that. Sales is still a rather personal thing in companies. Requires personal skills and everything. But everything the CRM tool can, every manual click it can take away from you is the right click. I'm always, when I do presentations, I ask the audience to count the number of clicks, and because that for me is the ultimate KPI. To do a lead conversion in the CRM systems shouldn't take more than 3 clicks. To add contacts to a CRM campaign shouldn't take more than 3 clicks, and I go by this definition.
Okay, Robert.
Yeah, and Andreas, I agree to Andreas.
Pity.
AI,
We want heat here. We need
controversy.
Heat.
Yeah, heat.
Controversy, discussion.
Yeah,
Not
but
agreement.
I mean, of course, AI helps us or does things usually we did in the past. I mean, let's go to the classic or to the famous example, ChatGPT. I mean, usually you used the 3 to 5 years ago, you had a content marketeer. I still have one, but you have a content marketeer, you have many of them, and they did the texts. So now ChatGPT could do that, and that's, I think, the same. The answer of the question, the same. The change which will happen now. I mean, I think you still need the content marketeer, but somebody has to brief ChatGPT. Otherwise, you won't get a good content piece out of it. So, but the work is different now. I mean, the content marketer doesn't write the content piece anymore, but he has to make sure that ChatGPT has the right information, that the output is good, and he or she doesn't need to rewrite the whole content piece for many hours and have less savings from that prospect. And I think that shows what does ChatGPT. It does things experts in the past did, but we need still the experts who put data into the AI, and to let's say in German it's veredeln. I would say what's the English word for it? It's
refine.
Just take enrich.
Refine the result, and put the result into a certain environment. So, and I think that answers. I think the AI will do things for us. Maybe in one or a few years, the quotations for us, for customers, if we put the right data into the system, and then we have to make sure that the presentation of the quotation, the emotional part, that's still the part of the sales guy, and that's the right change, because I think no sales guy will spend hours in putting data into Word and use Excel and that. But I think AI can do that if it gets the right briefing, the right data into it, and then to focus the sales part briefing and present the quotation and make sure that the customer or the prospect get the right messages out of our offering. I think that would be the right change, because nowadays the sales reps spend too much time on creating a quote, sending it out per email, and don't focus on the relationship, on the emotional part of the offering. And I think that could be a change in the next years, maybe.
In some fields, we can even see a renaissance of personalized sales activities. So if you check LinkedIn, for example, there's a trend called user-generated content. 2 or 3 years ago, most content on LinkedIn was curated in a way with corporate content. And today there's more advocacy. Company prepares content, but uses the staff as advocates and rewards them for it. So they personalize blog post and send it out under their own account and get within their target group, get more rotation. And many have gone back to making their own content altogether. So there's there's both trends, automation, but also back to more personalization.
Taking away the business from us poor analysts by insourcing it. But looking at, let me put it in a kind of negative words, just to create a reaction. So what I understand from both of you, AI is when the machine can do what humans do or did. Means we don't need humans anymore.
I wouldn't agree.
Increasingly.
I wouldn't agree. I mean,
I'm
first
asking for
step,
the limits,
I think the roles and the responsibilities will change. And yes, if you have easier things to do and you cannot switch to brief AI or decide if a result coming from the AI is worth it or is the right result, you get into trouble. You will get into trouble in the future. But if you can make this change, I think it could be just a change of the roles and the things we do and how we do it.
Isn't that a
and maybe we
role?
focus on the senseful things, because the example I made, I would say everybody will agree, if the sales rep is focusing on let's say on the sales, on the relationship area, the emotional area, in the quote, in the offering process, and not creating the quote, I would say that would be a really a useful change for everybody.
No, fully agreed.
So
but
the
isn't that a slippery road?
things you want to have away, yeah? If I summarize it.
I'm sorry, I didn't get
the repetitive time thieves you would like to go away.
I will believe in that, because otherwise we had let's say a black future in front of us. So, and I'm a optimistic guy, so I would believe that in any change we face, there's a potential for us. So that's the way I will believe.
Yeah. I'm totally with Robert, but sometimes in sales situations you have a choice. Like, for example, you're going for a sales opportunity and you haven't heard from the prospect in weeks, and so you have a choice. You can let the system, the Chat GPT based, email creation, for example, send out a reminder email. Oh, we haven't heard back from you. How is the status of your project? Like everybody would do. But the mindful sales rep and the skilled sales rep would add a personal note. He would approach things differently. He would deliberately choose another way and do it himself. And so that's what sales, maybe what sets sales apart from more mechanical processes like logistics or production. You can always make a difference by being different, by being personal and against the grain. And this is where humans have their place.
And maybe we do one mistake with AI, as we did in the past with any innovation topic we had. We try to put AI into each area we see. Of course, it's try and error, but if we think of, is this area, is the area of opportunities for manufacture really the right area for AI? I don't know. But if we have a mass of data, we have, I think the area could be right. And I think that could be the, let's say, little mistake we do, that we try to put AI in each area because it's on vogue. And if we don't have AI in the sales area, we are not innovative enough.
Mindful of the time, because we are on top of the hour, which basically flew away. So I don't know how that could have been. And usually ending with a question for famous last words. So I'd like to continue on this topic and start off with the theme of the slippery road. So right now we are using technology in an increasing amount to do repetitive, the dull, dumb, dangerous jobs. So now the technology is capable of learning with machine learning. So that's right now the situation is that we are taking away this simple job so that the dear sales rep can concentrate on the more profitable ones, on the more personal ones, and add the personal note. So question based upon that, why, what prevents us, or what prevents technology from increasingly becoming as empathetic to add this personal note and not only help the mediocre salesperson, but also the better one? Starting with Robert this time.
Yeah, that's the, let's say, the spooky part of
Yep.
of maybe AI, because we all don't know that. I mean, there are a lot of movies in the last 5 to 10 years which
Only 10.
describe a dark future with AI, and yeah, it will be interesting, positive or negatively interesting, to see if AI will get earlier or later the better human being. I mean, I got an answer in the last weeks, or arguments against it, which this man said, I mean, which differentiate us from AI. We have a human being have a soul, and AI is, in the end, is 0 and 1. But I don't know if this answer will helps us from that question. I have no idea. But yeah, that's a spooky question.
Andreas.
I think when the first excitement around AI is gone, and AI finds its ways in more specific technology, and after we have made better use than today with ChatGPT and other technologies, I think everything will settle down again for a while, and AI will start to make more sense. Like with all technology, when it's new, well, it's not that new after all. Technology is always an iteration of things. Things will calm down. Our own buying behavior is that the best purchase is when you trust the vendor, and trust is still a thing between human beings. And that's the feedback I always get from customers, particularly in Germany. And as long as that is the case, and that's human behavior, I have absolutely no doubt that people will be needed in the sales profession. I'm not at all worried. Mankind will find its way with artificial intelligence.
Or the other way around.
And I don't even think there's this regulation going, the regulation discussion. People want to start regulating fake news and everything. And come on, I mean, we mature. The civilization will cope with it. If you start regulating, we take away that, you deprive us of that sensibility. But we have to cope with it as human beings. It's why we are on Earth.
Okay. Famous last words. Thanks a lot, Robert and Andreas.
That was cool, gents. That was cool, and we miss our friend Marshall as the timekeeper and court jester in that arena, and wish him all the best to get better and joining us next Tuesday. Gentlemen, we are grateful that you have spent that hour with us. We enjoyed it very much. And,
thanks a lot, and bye to the audience.
Looking forward. Stay